In 1934, a doctor took a photograph. One photograph, black and white, grainy, taken on the shore of a lake in Scotland. It showed a long dark neck rising out of the water, a small head at the top, the surface of the lake rippling round something enormous just below the surface. That photograph traveled around the world in days. Newspapers ran it on their front pages. Scientists argued about it. Governments were asked to comment. Expeditions were organized. The British Natural History Museum got involved. And 90 years later, that photograph has never been fully explained, because the creature in it has never been found. Its name, according to the locals who lived on that lake for generations, was Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. And here is what most people do not know. The real science behind this story is stranger than the legend. Much stranger. Let me tell you about Loch Ness first, because the lake itself, before any monster, is already extraordinary. Loch Ness is in the Scottish Highlands, a long narrow lake carved by glaciers thousands of years ago. It is 37 kilometers long, less than 2 kilometers wide at its widest point, and it is deep, 227 meters at its deepest point. For comparison, the Eiffel Tower is 300 meters tall. Loch Ness is deep enough to submerge the Eiffel Tower and still have water above it. It holds more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. And it is dark, almost completely dark. The water is stained brown by peat from the surrounding hills. Visibility underwater, even with modern diving equipment, is almost zero. You can barely see your hand in front of your face at any real depth. Which means, even with everything we have today, searching Loch Ness properly is genuinely difficult. It is not a pond. It is not a swimming pool. It is an enormous body of dark, cold water where something could exist without ever being seen. That is not a legend talking. That is geography. There is something else about Loch Ness that photographs do not capture. The silence. Anyone who has stood on its shore will tell you the same thing. Even on a calm day, the lake feels wrong. The water is distilled dark to flat, like something underneath is holding it down. Locals have known this for centuries. They do not swim in it. Not because of the legend. Because of the cold. The water temperature at depth stays near freezing year-round. A person who falls in has minutes, maybe less. And the mist. In the early morning, the lake disappears. A thick grey mist sits on the surface, and the water below it becomes invisible. Anything could move through that mist. Anything could surface. And by the time it was seen clearly, it would already be gone. This is the environment we are talking about. Not a lake you can see across. Not water you can search with your eyes. Now, the sightings. Because the 1930 for a photograph is not where this story starts. People have been reporting something in Loch Ness for over 1500 years. The first recorded account is from 565 AD. A monk named Saint Columba was traveling near the river that feeds into the lake. One of his companions jumped into the water to retrieve a boat. Something rose from the water. It moved toward the swimmer with its mouth open. Saint Columba held up his hand and commanded it to stop. And it did, and it turned away. 1500 years ago. Same lake, same description. You can dismiss that as medieval legend if you choose. But then come the 20th century accounts. And those are harder to dismiss. 1933. A couple driving along the newly built road beside the lake see something large crossing the road ahead of them, moving from the hillside toward the water. They describe it as enormous. low to the ground, moving with an unusual gait. It reaches the water and disappears. They are not the last. And then there is this. April 2021. A retired engineer named Gerald McMahon is walking along the southern shore. Flat water, no wind, he stops. Something large, he estimates 8 meters, breaks the surface 200 meters from where he is standing. Not a wave, not a lob. It moves against the current for 11 seconds. And then it is gone. He has no camera. He has only what he saw. And he has been telling the same story ever since. Between 1933 and today, over 1,000 people have formally reported seeing something in or near Loch Ness. Different people, different years, different locations, but the same details. Every time, something large, something dark, something that moves through the water in a way that does not match any known animal. 1,000 people over 90 years, all reporting the same lake. Now, a fair question. Are these people lying? Some of them, probably yes. Attention is a powerful motivator. Loch Ness is famous. Saying you saw something gets you noticed. But 1,000 people over 90 years, with consistent details across decades and continents. Psychologists say this pattern of unconnected people reporting the same specific details is not easily explained. That pattern looks like people describing something real. Not necessarily a monster, but something that enough people have seen that dismissing all of them requires more faith than keeping the question open. Now, here is where the science enters the story. Because scientists decided to actually look. In 1967, a team used sonar equipment to scan the lake. Standard equipment used to map the ocean floor. They detected a large moving object at depth, something between 6 and 9 meters long, at a depth that should have been empty. They could not identify it. It appeared, and then it was gone. In 1987, Operation Deepscan, the largest coordinated search of Loch Ness ever attempted. 24 boats, equipped with sonar, crossing the entire lake in a single line. Systematically. For 3 days. Think about what that looked like. 24 boats moving across a cold Scottish lake at dawn. Scientists on deck watching screens. Journalists watching from the shore. The whole world waiting for an answer. They got one. 3 separate sonar contacts. 3 separate detections of something large. Moving at depth. The lead scientist said publicly that they had detected something larger than a shark and smaller than a whale. In 2003, the BBC funded the most thorough scientific search ever. 600 individual sonar beams. Satellite tracking. Every meter of the lake covered. They found nothing, which seemed to settle it. Until 2018, when a team of scientists arrived, and they were not looking for a creature at all. They were looking for DNA. Every creature that has ever been in that water leaves behind invisible traces of its genetic material. Scientists learned how to read those traces. They collected 250 samples from across the entire lake. They sent them to 4 separate laboratories on 3 different continents. And then, one result came back. Eels. Not a plesiosaur. Not an unknown species. That answer is somehow more unsettling than a monster. The eDNA analysis found an extraordinary amount of eel DNA in Loch Ness. Not a little. Not traces. More eel DNA than the scientists had found in any comparable lake in Europe. Spread through every sample. At every depth. In every location across the lake. Loch Ness is full of eels now. Eels are common in Scottish lakes. That part is not surprising. What is surprising is this: eels that stay in fresh water, that do not migrate, keep growing. Nobody knows how large they can get, because nobody has ever studied what happens to an eel that stays in a cold, deep lake for decades. European eels normally grow to about a meter long, but that is in normal conditions. With a normal life cycle, what happens to one that lives in 227 meters of dark cold water, full of fish, for 50 years? For 100? For longer? In 2020, researchers studying freshwater eels in New Zealand found individuals that had been in the same river system for over 100 years. Their length over 2 meters. Their weight comparable to a large dog. That is a river.shallow.search.known. Now imagine the same process happening in 227 meters of dark cold water, undisturbed, full of fish, for not 100 years, but 200, 300 longer. Nobody has modeled what that produces. Nobody has run that experiment, because nobody thought to. Ask the question until the eDNA results came back from Loch Ness, an eel that has been growing in darkness for 3 centuries. How large is that? We do not know, and that is exactly the problem. The scientists who published the eDNA study were careful. They did not say there is a monster in Loch Ness, but they said this. They said, "We cannot rule out the presence of very large eels in this lake." Very large an eel, 8 meters long, dark, moving fast through black water, breaking the surface for 11 seconds before disappearing. Sound familiar? So the monster might be real, just not the monster anyone expected. Now, let me tell you about the photograph. The 1930 for a photograph, the one that started everything. In 1994, Christian Sperling made a confession on his deathbed. He said the photograph was fake. He said it was built by his stepfather, a big game hunter named Marmaduke Wetherill, using a toy submarine. The photograph was a hoax designed to make the newspaper look foolish. The confession was accepted by most scientists. The photograph is a fake. But here's the problem with that conclusion. The photograph being fake does not make the sightings fake. It does not explain the 1967 sonar contact. It does not explain the 3 unexplained contacts from Operation Deepscan in 1987. It does not explain Gerald McMahon watching something move against the current for 11 seconds. One fake photograph does not erase 1,000 sightings. So let us be clear. We know the photograph was fake. We do not know what the 1967 sonar detected moving at depth. The file is not closed. The file has never been closed. We just stopped looking at it now. The theory most people know. The long neck. The small head. The foreflippers. The plesiosaur. It went extinct 66 million years ago, with the dinosaurs. But here is the uncomfortable scientific truth. We have explored almost none of the deep ocean. And Loch Ness is connected to the sea. Most scientists say no, but then again, most scientists once said the coelacanth was gone, extinct for 65 million years. Then in 1938, a fisherman off South Africa pulled one out of the water. Alive, a living fossil, right alongside the dinosaurs, the megamorph shark, massive. Unknown until 1976, the giant squid, dismissed as legend until 2004, when it was photographed. Every decade, something we declared gone turns out to still be here. The ocean and the lakes connected to it are not finished. I think the scientific consensus is probably right, probably. But those 3 unexplained sonar contacts from 1987 deserve a better answer. The ocean does not ask for permission before hiding something from us. It just continues patient ancient. Indifferent, whatever is or is not at the bottom of it, has had a very long time to learn how to stay hidden, not yet found. Does not mean not there. Tell me in the comments. Do you believe something is in Loch Ness? I genuinely want to know. See you in the deep.